Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things.
Daring to dream and following her idea through to build a company, learning the ropes of entrepreneurship in her early college days, Madhurima Agarwal, Director of Engineering Programs and leader at NetApp Accelerator, shares a story that starts with her believing that she was the best programmer and convinced her father to be her first angel investor. She also shares how one can deal with bias and how you need to speak up for what you've done, along with a number of aspects of product development and management, and sharing how communities have offered entrepreneurs a whole host of support and believes that this is the right time to be one. Tune in to this episode. Hi, Madhurima. Good morning and a very warm welcome to you to the Software People Stories podcast. It's great to have you on our show here. How would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Hi, Chitra. First of all, thanks a lot for inviting me to be part of this. It's such an honor to be here. In terms of talking about me, I'm usually not good at it, but let me give it a try. My professional capacity, I work at NetApp, where I lead their global startup program called NetApp Accelerator. But that's just one part of me. I see myself more as a person who's had a chance to learn, go through a lot of life experiences, and that's what's made me what I am today. I am deeply passionate about, various causes, especially diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And of course, the second one is my love for startups. And I'm very passionate about contributing to the startup ecosystem to ensure that India becomes known as a product nation and we can produce some of the best startups from here. That's me. And then I'm proud mother of two kids. One of, in their preteens really now. So I'm facing what a lot of parents have gone through before me. And that itself is a learning experience.
Thanks, Madhurima. I'd like to take you back in time to where this all began. How did you choose a subject or a topic like technology? What motivated you? What inspired you? And how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I think that love for technology was really born in school. And I remember very clearly, during my eighth standard, we had computer lessons as part of the school curriculum. And I took extra pride in being, a very good programmer. In fact, I thought I was the best programmer in the world at that time, of course. So I had written a program which my computer teacher told me that, this is wrong, it won't work. And I was adamant that, it is going to work. So I challenged her that, let's run it on the system and it will work. And it did work. And that, that kind of brought in a different kind of belief in me that, yes, I can do stuff which probably my teacher also doesn't know. And then once you get that feeling as a teenager, right, you kind of just throw yourself in it, start reading more, focusing more on that. And I think that's where that love for technology really started. And of course, as I grew, you could see the impact that technology was having on the lives around us everywhere. Right. When I was in college, then internet came to India, and I was fortunate enough to start a tech company at that point of time, which was building software for the local system. And then just leveraging the power of internet, you could see that so much more could be done while one is sitting in a small town in Ranchi. And then, of course, the more you read, the more you know, the more you learn, you can see how useful or how powerful technology is, which kind of, really built in me that curiosity, that love for technology. And of course, being part of a group where everybody liked to talk about things which are tech, it puts you in that path. And then, when I went on to do my MBA and then worked in the financial services sector, I was a bit away from tech as such. But then once I returned to India and I could see what is happening around me, how different companies are starting up, you just cannot remain untouched by that passion, by that enthusiasm. And I think that's what's kept me going.
Interesting, Madhurima. And you said you started a tech company in Ranchi while you were perhaps still in high school and college. What was that?
Undergrad, yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
that was that was in 1999. So I was doing my undergrad degree in computer science. And I realized after a few months that I do have a lot of spare time after finishing my classes. And talking to my father one evening, I expressed that I wanted to do something more with my time. And, dad's being dad, he asked, so what do you want to do? What do you need from me? Just go and do it. And then I said, okay, this is an idea. I want to build software programs. In today's parlance, he was my first angel investor. So he invested in my company, the first capital, and I hired a place. He was a true mentor in the sense he introduced me to some of his friends who at that time were part of Chamber of Commerce and Industries. And they said, we are looking for someone to automate our member directory. That was my first order, literally. So I had my first order before I, did the inauguration of my company as such, which is a story I see so often being repeated nowadays. So I was lucky in those days. And that's how, Easy Computers started. And then over the next 2.5 years, I grew. I took some help from my friends, and then I was able to hire three folks to work with me on these orders. And then when I got through IIM, and given that it was completely my venture and nobody else was going to continue it after I left, I decided to, make an exit and sold it to one of my, other partners who was then going to continue with the orders that were in the pipeline. That I think was one of the very interesting phase of my life and something that I was fortunate enough to experience so early in life that helped me become, what I'm doing today.
Incredible, Madhurima.
Yeah.
I certainly have a lot of questions around that, and I hope we could come back to some of them later in the conversation. That must have been some experience of 2.5 years, and to have that so early on in life. How did some of these experiences shape what you did later on? Let's say after your MBA.
Yeah, I think once you've gone through the grind of starting a company, realizing how difficult things can be, it makes you much more empathetic towards others. It instills in you discipline, that even when things are tough, you have to keep going. And more so than that, it instills in you a confidence, a belief that I think is unparalleled. And practical experience gives you that. And I think that is something which has helped me throughout till today. When I was working, in the capital markets, in the financial services domain, that discipline, that rigor of working long hours, right? Because I had to finish my classes and then work on these orders and then deliver them on time. That helped me in terms of, the hard work and the dedication it required. That understanding of what an entrepreneur goes through in their early days, that is helping me a lot today. Because when I mentor startups, it just comes naturally, that understanding, that empathy that happens. That I think, you are on their side. You understand what they're going through, that pains, and you're able to share some things on the softer side, which really help entrepreneurs keep going. That I think, was something very valuable, which I'm so glad again that I had that opportunity to experience. The other thing, which happened very early on then to you, I'm sure a lot of the audience will relate to that example as well. So one day when I was just sitting in my office, somebody walks in and says that I wanted to discuss something about a project I want to offer. So I want to talk to the owner. And I was like, yeah, I am the owner. Tell me. That look of disbelief. That was there on that person's face was like, no, I want to talk. Where's your father? I'll talk to your father. I'm like, my father has got nothing to do here. Talk to me. I'm the person who can help you. So that just, struck me that how people have this unconscious bias, which is so deep sometimes. It just refuse to accept that a girl, and that too not somebody like with gray hairs, can help him out with something that is important. And I think that is something which is inculcated in me. This I tend to be a very active participant in this dialogue around diversity because I've experienced the other side of it, of how people just tend to dismiss you if you are not of the, right visual that they have in their mind about how a CEO should be, or how a person in an important position should look like. That that was hilarious, but I think those learnings stay and shape one. At least it shaped me become what I am today.
Something that you said has prompted this question of mine. And when you talked about, you said the right visual. In your experience, how has that played out in your role as a mentor and as an entrepreneur yourself? You would have come across many situations where people would have gone through these. So what would you say has helped you, navigate such situations yourself? And what is it that you can share with, wannabe entrepreneurs, or especially women who want to start out on their own?
See, I think first of all, the tech world is in some ways a good place to be in for women because it's much more open in that sense that your I mean, of course, not fully true, but your work speaks for yourself. I mean, if you have built fantastic code or built a fantastic product, not everyone is going to see the person who's behind it. I mean, they'll see your work. Your work can speak for yourself. Whereas in some other industries, sometimes it's the person who becomes more visible before their work becomes visible. So, and in entrepreneurship, I think today it's a great place to be in, and the right time, because a lot of these biases have kind of gone away, Chitra. What I'm talking about was 99, 2000, 21 years after that today. People are much more aware, much more conscious, and not limited by these things. So that's one thing. But yes, it's not gone away fully. And the advice that I always give to women, right, is that they need to be slightly more vocal, be more aware of the fact that not everybody will know what they are doing. So we need to speak up sometimes and share about our accomplishments, and not just make an assumption that people will know how good we are. By doing that, we are doing a disservice to ourselves. See, I grew up in an environment where, irrespective of whether you're a girl or a boy, I never faced that challenge much, at least while growing up in my family. But it was taught that you don't toot your own horn. That was considered very impolite. However, in today's world, sometimes you have to do that just because everybody will not know who you are or what you have done. So if you bring that out, let people know about the other qualities that you have. And more so, if not about yourself, talk about the other person in the room who's accomplished this, right? Women helping women. So I will feel very uncomfortable talking about myself, but if my friend champions me and I friend my champion, it's a win-win, right? And it comes naturally to women to bring out the good stuff about others rather than talking about themselves. So why not leverage that and make a pact that, okay, when we are together in a meeting, I will bring out the important qualities that you possess, and you can do the same for me, right? Men do it all the time. It comes naturally to them. So we can make an effort as women to do that. The other thing is, there are, see, sometimes the way you present yourself does make a difference. So putting in a little bit of effort is not something that we should dismiss very lightly. when you go for coaching, life coaching, executive coaching, all these kind of things, they stress the importance, that you have. And it's not just in terms of how you look, but how do you speak up? How do you carry yourself? How do you project the persona that you bring to the table? All those kind of things. So it's important to probably read up about it, practice, and especially when we are doing it for our company, for our startup, for our business. We owe it to the success of that enterprise to put in all the effort that will help it grow. Those are some of the things I'd like to share with the audience, just from my personal experience.
Nicely put, Madhurima. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'd like to change tracks here a little bit and explore with you, since you have been actively mentoring startups and you're passionate about it. Couple of questions around, getting to the right market, finding the right product market fit. This is something that a lot of people struggle with. From your own experiences, what have you done to find the right fit? What is it that you have seen that can help people get that or move in the right direction towards finding a product market fit?
Great question, Chitra. And I think this is something that we talk to, founders all the time about. Sometimes it's very apparent. Sometimes it takes few trials and errors to get it right. First, my rule of thumb is that if you're starting a company in a particular space, you need to know everything about it. You have to be an expert on that space. Either it's through personal experience, or it is through having watched it closely or facing a problem yourself, whatever it is. But you need to understand the market correctly. If you don't have that, talk to people who are experts in that area. Understand who's your customer, what's the customer's pain point. And once you've done that, you will be able to realize where the true pain lies, right? And that's where you should build the solution for. For if somebody is going all out, building a product and then trying to find a market for it, I think that's a recipe for disaster. So first do the market research, find out what is the existing gap in the market, find out who is facing the pain that you are looking to solve for, and if that pain is painful enough for them to pay for it, right? As sometimes it is called, are you building a vitamin or are you building a painkiller? If you're building a vitamin, you're gambling on your chances for success, because people might or might not buy it depending on their circumstances. Whereas if you're building a painkiller, that product is going to sell and you're going to. So do the market research before you build the product. And once you've done it, once you've got a good understanding, you build your MVP, go and do lots of pilots. Do pilots with various markets where you think your product is going to be the right fit. And based on feedback, focus where you see the chances of success to be the highest. That is a great way to figure out where your product market fit lies. So then you scale up wherever your pilot has shown the highest probability of success. So again, just summarizing what I said. First, do your market research, figure out where the gaps are, what the pain points are, and if people are willing to pay for solving that pain, and then build a product, try it out at different pilots, slight modifications, kind of like control experiments that a scientist does. And then wherever you find the right fit, scale up aggressively. So that is the best way to find out your product market fit. And that's what we advise all entrepreneurs to do.
You said do a lot of pilots and then take all that feedback. But what I've seen often is, especially, a lot of people are hesitant to do those experiments, perhaps because of a fear of failure, or that you will have to, restart the whole thing all over again. How can people overcome that? What is it that they can do to develop a mindset of experimenting to learn, experimenting to ensure that you are headed down the right path, or even pivot if you're not? What is it that you've seen that helps develop that kind of experimental mindset?
Yeah, see, I think the fear of failing that is inherent in most of us, right? Because that's we've all faced it right from childhood. If you fail your exams, if you fail, nobody will play with you. If you fail at this, you won't have friends. So that fear of failing has been instilled since early days. So parents today can at least, for the next generation, remove that by saying, encouraging them to experiment. And I think that's something that we can learn from the West. I see there's a lot more acceptance of failure there. And today's society, even in India, I think there's a lot more acceptance. People are taking sabbaticals to try out new things. People are willing to jump into entrepreneurship and say that I'll give it 3 years. If it doesn't work, I'll come back. And they are assured that, when they come back, they'll not be looked at negatively for taking this plunge. So that things are changing. But yes, in terms of the fear of doing too many pilots and overcoming, I think it's a great thing to have an advisor on your side, somebody you trust, somebody who's knowledgeable, somebody who has the ability to help you prioritize where you should put in your energies. That I think helps, because when you are feeling very dejected, if some of the early experiments didn't work out, that advisor can guide you through that phase. See, sometimes what also goes unseen is that we see some celebrated founders say, wow, that person just did it, right? Nobody sees the years of hard work and the failures that went before that one big SaaS came out. The entrepreneurs, the founders will do themselves a favor if they delve a bit deeper and realize what was that journey about. I read somebody had said a quote, I'm an overnight success after 10 years of hard work. So that's true for most people, right? So you have to accept that failing is a part of the process. As long as you learn from that failure and are ready to do something new and not repeat the same mistake. But yes, always have some learning that you take away from that. Then you've not failed, you've just learned something which will egg you on to do a different pilot. That's a secret that we've seen in multiple startups, multiple founders who've succeeded. They've pivoted because once they realized something was not working, they went and pivoted. In fact, just a couple of days ago, I was hearing this interesting story about how one of the founders went to Mark Andreessen. He's one of the most respected names in the investment community, took some money, and then came back after a few months and said, the idea I took money from was not working. So either I can return you the money, whatever is left of it, or else I have a different idea in mind, I can work on it. And Mark said, yeah, I trust you. Go ahead, take that next bet that you want to work on that different idea. The person did that, and then Slack was born from there. That's how it was. So you see, like, sometimes it helps to read these stories, know more about it, because that helps you overcome your failures and continue putting in efforts and marching forward. Sorry, long answer, but I hope that helps.
Certainly, Madhurima, there's so many questions coming up. And this comes from the fact that you said that you really want to see India become a product nation. And there are so many stories that one reads about building a product. And for it to become successful, like you said, it's a journey of sorts. It's a journey of experiments, learning, discovery, pivoting, all of these moments. And the story that you narrated about how Slack was born is, to encourage entrepreneurs to say that, hey, here, I'm with you on this journey. Maybe this is just a pause. And here, I will give you some support and go on and build what you feel is the right thing to do. Do you see that shift happening here? And how can investors and entrepreneurs create that environment to build a strong ecosystem so that more and more people head down the path of entrepreneurship and we have more successful products out there?
No, I think it is there, Chitra. See, think about this, right? Startups, what I said, they should build a product. They should build fantastic products. And you very rightly said it takes time, it's a journey. So, whenever, if you see, whenever startups pitch to investors, investors do a lot of due diligence. You will hardly see that you go to an investor and pitch their idea, and somebody will write you a check on the spot and give it to you. Until unless you've already had a previous association with that investor where they know you fully and that trust has been built. But for first time entrepreneurs, they go there. There is a process which the investors follow to do their due diligence to understand. And only when they are fully convinced that this investment makes sense and that the product is going to be so good and grow that they will make the returns that they are expecting, that they would write the check and make an investment. By doing that itself, they are signaling that we trust you enough to give you our money. What sometimes I've seen a mistake a lot of time startups do is that they go with the expectation that my idea is the best, I'm the best, and anybody I present this to should invest in me. And when that doesn't happen, then sometimes they end up blaming the investor instead of just introspecting and seeing why that didn't happen. But of course, both sides, it's people, and that's natural. So you will talk to many investors. Somebody will identify the potential that your product has, and then you'll get funded. Now, there are certain areas where it takes much longer to build a product create meaningful, which can create meaningful returns, and that is where you need what is known as patient capital. Now, amongst investors also, different investor classes are there who have different risk appetites and who have a different expected horizon of return on their investments. So, if you know you're building something which will take longer than other things to build, go take money from investors who are willing to have that invest patient capital and are willing to wait that 5 to 10 years that it might take for your idea to really fructify and disrupt the world. As angel investors, people know that if they are investing in something, they have to wait for a significant amount of time to that for that investment to multiply. People who come in at the next stage also have a fair idea of what time horizon they are looking at. So I think it's very important to choose your investor carefully after doing proper due diligence on what is the investor's return expectation on the time horizon, on the percentage, and if that matches with what you are looking at build, and only then that handshake should happen. What usually happens is that once people invest and then they start interacting with the founders, even if things go wrong, right? They've already invested money, but they know the team. And if they have the trust in the team that they will pivot and do something, and trust me, investors will extend all resources because end of the day, it's their capital that is at risk. They are as invested in your success as much as a founder is in their success. Essentially, what I'm saying is that both are on the same side. They have to do whatever they can to make the product, the company a success. And that's the common goal. Does that answer your question, Chitra? I think
It certainly does, and I'm glad that you clarified it. In fact, the last point, I think, being aligned around a common purpose and a common goal or a shared purpose certainly makes a lot of difference. And I liked what you said in terms of patient capital. I guess the next thing that is coming to my mind based on what you said is the need for communities of both investors and startup entrepreneurs to come together and share a lot more about their experiences. What are your thoughts on creating communities like that, and how vibrant is the community right now, let's say within the Indian ecosystem?
as I said earlier, also, I think now is one of the best times to be a founder and to be part of the Indian ecosystem, right? There are so many people who are acting as ecosystem enablers. And let me give you some examples. I mean, for example, take the work that TIE is doing, the Indus Entrepreneurs Organization, right? TIE organizes so many informative sessions, these knowledge sessions where they bring in experts from various fields. They bring in successful entrepreneurs who share their success stories. And it's mostly either at a nominal charge or mostly free for the founders to attend, to learn. And various formats, some are webinars, short duration, some are series like the B2B Sales Academy. that was recently done by Thai Delhi. I was a part of the organizing committee, and I could see the impact it created, on these B2B founders, where top leaders from the corporates, from the founder teams came, shared their success mantra, shared what has helped them achieve what their requirements are, gave them tips, strategies, and very strong community got built through that. That is it. Then NASCOM, for startups which are working in the deep tech space, NASCOM has built this deep tech club where they provide mentorship, of access to great mentors, access to investors, market access. The Head Start network, which works with idea stage startups, right, helps them groom them, help them think about how they should think about their startup and grow it. All these communities that are there in any space you think of, there are so many incubators, accelerators today in India as part of the academic organizations as well, academic institutions, right? So that students get access to that at an early point in their time to learn about entrepreneurship. There are courses in universities that are happening where people have the opportunity to meet other like minded future entrepreneurs, co founders, team members. So I think there's a lot of work being done. For everything is virtual, so it doesn't matter whether you're sitting in a metro or sitting in a tier two or a tier three city. Today you have access to everything, irrespective of your geographic location. There are so many online communities that are being formed of these entrepreneurs. Like, people are just the successful ones, the big ones, they are going all out. They are writing founders checks so that if you're a founder and you're looking for some initial investment and you are known to other founders, you're trusted by them, you can just go and ask them for some investment and advice, and they'll do that freely because today India has its own base to do that. Fantastic time to be an entrepreneur, and a lot of communities that are happening, small pockets at the national level that you should be part of and not miss out on the learning there.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Madhurima. That was a good insight into the current landscape. Good to know that there's so much happening. Yes, while TIE, NASCOM, and Head Start are some of the more widely known ones, the other thing that I also notice happening, I guess because my younger one is just stepped into class 11, some aspects of the national education policy have also recommended that learning become more hands-on and practical, and I see that it's already made its way into school curriculums, with an optional subject being offered as entrepreneurial studies or experiences. I certainly look forward to it, hope to see more people head down the path of becoming entrepreneurs, like you mentioned earlier in the conversation as well. Encourages more parents to give agency to children to take risks from a younger age. Hopefully we'll see a lot more product companies on the horizon.
Yeah, I think there's so much happening. It's a really exciting time, to think about being an entrepreneur and experiment and try. I mean, even the government is focusing. There's so many startup initiatives that the government is doing. They even have like grants coming from the government if somebody wants to start up. So there's Startup India. I mean, I should have mentioned, the Startup India initiative that is there. People should just go on the internet and type Startup India, what's happening, what resources are available. You have tons of it, it's a knowledge mine out there. Just spend some time and you'll see it. In fact, they have this young entrepreneurs program, which is happening at a global level. So if you're in grade 11 or 12, you can form your own groups, participate in those competitions, and get a taste of what it's like at a very early age.
Had heard of those programs as well. So yeah, very, very heartening to see the amount of things that are happening around, the amount of resources that are available to people today. We are sort of coming to the close of this conversation. What are some of the messages that you would like to leave with people aspiring to step into technology and for people looking to become entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I think three things I would like the audience to think about. First, become really good at whatever you are doing. You should be the best. You should excel in that. Right? That's very important. If you want to build a tech product, understand that technology very well, understand what you're going to do, find out the people who can help you in that, right? That's first. So be the best that you can in that field. The second is don't be afraid of failing. Find people who will support you during your low times. Just do that. And third is always be optimistic. Take risks, take calculated risks, and don't be afraid. So if you have the first and second in place, which is if you're really good at what you want to do, if you have allies, if you have advisors, if you have mentors, then this failure should not stop you. Be optimistic. You will achieve success in life. Believe in yourself. Yeah, that's the three things I would like the audience to think about.
Thank you, Madhurima. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. It's been a very interesting conversation. And perhaps not too late in the future, I would look forward to having more such conversations with you. There are plenty of topics I'm sure we can cover. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Chitra. It's been such a pleasure, talking to you and sharing my thoughts. Thanks once again.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.